Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into a question that sounds, well, like it's straight out of a movie. Can we fall in love with someone even if we don't remember them? It's a fascinating thought, really. Touches on memory, identity, what it even means to connect with someone.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here is the range of material we're drawing on. We've got, a big Hollywood rom-com, philosophical ideas, psychology, real patient stories, even online discussions.
Right.
So it's not just fiction. We're trying to connect these dots, see how love and memory actually interact in life.
And our mission today, basically, is using 50 First Dates, the Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore movie, as a kind of lens for this whole question. We'll look at why it was such a hit, how it shows love dealing with memory loss, and then, dig into whether that picture lines up with deeper psychological or philosophical takes.
And the ethics, too, right?
Exactly. We'll definitely tackle those debates it sparked about consent, which gets surprisingly intense when you think about a relationship built on, well, starting over every single day. So maybe let's start with the movie itself. 50 First Dates. It wasn't just a hit, it was huge. Made a ton of money.
Oh yeah, massive. Over $198 million worldwide. And people loved Sandler and Barrymore together in it. They even won awards for their chemistry.
That chemistry was pretty key, wasn't it? Especially for a plot like this one.
Absolutely. The film really does stand out in the rom-com world because the premise is so unconventional. You've got Henry Roth, Sandler's character. He's this Marine vet, kind of a ladies' man.
Right, avoids commitment.
Avoids commitment, yeah. And then there's Lucy Whitmore, played by Drew Barrymore. She has this fictional type of short-term memory loss the movie calls Goldfield Syndrome. Basically, after an accident, her memory resets every night.
So she remembers everything up to the accident.
Exactly. But nothing after that day. Wakes up thinking it's still that same day.
And that's where it gets really clever, how the movie handles this. Like, how do you build a relationship, an emotional arc, when one person forgets everything?
Well, the script uses those videotapes, right?
Yeah.
Henry makes her a tape each day to kind of brief her on, her life, what's happening.
But he keeps a journal, too. Makes notes every day.
Right. And what's wild is that whole video idea, it wasn't just movie magic. It actually inspired real therapists.
No way.
Yeah. In 2015, there was this place, the Hebrew Home at Riverdale in New York. They had families record videos for dementia patients to help with that morning confusion, directly inspired by 50 First Dates.
Wow. That's incredible. So the movie's portrayal, even though it's fictionalized memory loss, it clearly resonated. It sparked something.
It definitely did. It made people think about memory and love in a different way, I think. Which brings us right back to our big question.
Exactly. So let's tackle it head on. Can we fall in love with someone even if we don't remember them? The movie obviously says yes, but what about outside of Hollywood? What does psychology say? Philosophy.
Well, looking beyond the film, you find some really compelling stuff in real-world cases. Think about dementia patients, for instance.
Okay.
There are accounts from memory care places, like one called Autumn Leaves. They describe situations where someone with dementia might not recognize their husband or wife by name.
Right. The explicit memory is gone.
Exactly. But they say the love, the affection, it often seems like it's still there in the person's heart, as they put it. There's this one story, really poignant, about a woman who didn't know her husband, Bud. She apparently told him, "I'm sorry, sir, but my heart belongs to Bud."
Wow. So even without recognizing him, she recognized the feeling, the connection to him.
It suggests that, yeah, a kind of emotional connection that persists even when the factual recognition is gone.
That's fascinating. It almost sounds like love taps into a different memory system or something. But how does that square with, the idea that relationships are built on shared experiences, shared memories?
Well, it makes us think about different types of memory. You know about patient HM, famous case in psychology.
Vaguely, remind me.
So HM had severe anterograde amnesia. Couldn't form new long-term episodic memories, like memories of events.
Okay. Couldn't remember what he did yesterday.
Right. But he could learn new motor skills. Like he got better at drawing something while looking in a mirror, which is really hard. This is procedural memory, the how-to stuff.
Muscle memory, kind of?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
But he'd have no memory of learning it. No recollection of the practice sessions. So the facts, semantic memory weren't forming, but the skill was.
Okay, gotcha.
This shows different brain parts handle different memory types. So maybe, just maybe, love, that feeling of connection, taps into something more like that procedural or emotional memory system. Like in the movie, Lucy starts painting Henry without consciously remembering meeting him.
Right, right. It's like her subconscious or her emotions remember him, even if her conscious mind doesn't. Makes you wonder, yeah.
It does. It suggests maybe our subconscious is sometimes a better student than we think.
Okay, so that's the psychological angle, suggesting different memory systems might be at play. What about philosophy? How does it deal with identity and memory?
Well, the philosopher John Locke had some really interesting ideas back in the 17th century. In his big work, Essay Concerning Human Understanding, he made this distinction between a man, the biological human, and a person.
Okay, what's the difference for Locke?
For Locke, personal identity wasn't tied to having the same soul or even the same body over time. It was about consciousness, continuity of consciousness.
So as long as there's a continuous stream of awareness, of thought, that's the person.
Pretty much. He actually said if the same consciousness could be transferred to another body, it would still be the same person. The identity lies in that psychological continuity, that inner life. It's relational in a way.
That's a big idea. So identity isn't just the sum of our remembered experiences.
Not according to Locke, not entirely. It opens the door to thinking that maybe a connection, a sense of self in relation to another, could persist even without, perfect day-to-day recall of events.
So applying that to love then, if identity is this continuous consciousness, maybe the feeling of love, the recognition of the other person at some deep level can persist too, even without remembering the specific dates or conversations.
That seems to be the implication, yeah. There's this essay from Tikkun magazine that touches on this beautifully. It asks, how did he know that love and memory are joined? How did he know that remembering is a form of love?
Remembering as a form of love. I like that.
Yeah. And the author talks about love allowing moments of our souls being recognized, recognizing the other as a being like ourselves, but also, preciously different and ultimately unknowable.
So the core of love might be that recognition, that fundamental seeing of the other person rather than just cataloging shared moments.
That's the perspective, yeah. It shifts the focus. It even pushes back against the idea that romantic love has to fade, asking, what's wrong with love lasting forever?
Okay. So psychology and philosophy seem to offer pathways, theoretical ways at least, that love could exist or persist without explicit memory. The movie, 50 First Dates, definitely runs with that idea. It shows this persistent, unconditional love.
It does. It's very heartwarming in that way.
Yeah.
Henry's dedication is pretty incredible.
But, and this is a big but, when you really start digging into the premise, especially from a real-world perspective, you hit some ethical snags, don't you?
You really do. And this is where the discussions about the movie get quite heated sometimes.
I remember watching it and thinking, okay, this is sweet, but wait a minute. Can she really consent to this relationship every day or to major life decisions?
That's exactly the point people raise. Consent is a huge issue. There's this Reddit thread, a Change My View discussion, where people really went hard on the ending, particularly.
The ending on the boat?
Yeah. People found the idea of Lucy being on this boat, potentially in the Arctic, really isolating. Someone called it scarily isolating and even fucked up. The idea that she'd wake up every day in this situation, maybe with a child she doesn't remember.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when you put it like that.
It raises serious questions because she wouldn't remember agreeing to be there or agreeing to have a child. The argument is that true consent requires memory of that consent.
So the criticism is that a real relationship like that would be impossible because you'd constantly have to revisit every major agreement.
Exactly. You'd have to relitigate every substantial agreement daily, as one commenter put it. Prenups, parenting choices where you live. It's just not practical.
Yeah.
And potentially really traumatic for the person with memory loss.
That idea of waking up somewhere completely unfamiliar with no memory of choosing it, yeah, I can see why people called it horror movie stuff or a dystopian nightmare. It lacks that ongoing, enthusiastic consent.
Right. The power imbalance is inherent. Henry always knows their history, their agreements. Lucy always relies on him or the video or the journal for that information.
But to be fair to the movie, it does show Henry trying really hard, right? With the video, being patient, letting her make the choice each day, even if she sometimes chooses to, break up with him.
It absolutely does try to address it. Henry's efforts are framed as trying to make her life better, more autonomous within the constraints. He's shown to genuinely care and not want to manipulate her. And Lucy's use of the diary, the fact she apparently dreams of Henry, these are presented as her ways of maintaining some kind of continuity, some agency.
Okay, so there's an attempt to navigate it within the story.
There is, but the fundamental ethical questions about consent and autonomy in such a situation remain. especially when you translate it out of the rom-com context.
So what does this mean then for the movie's value in answering our big question? If the ethical framework it presents is shaky in the real world, how suitable is it as an exploration of love without memory?
Well, I think this highlights the difference between, genre and reality.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert made a good point in his review. He said 50 First Dates is a lighthearted romantic comedy. It's not meant to be a psychiatric docudrama.
Right. It's playing by different rules.
Yeah, exactly. And the Journal of Popular Romance Studies talks about how rom-coms often create this kind of comic space or magic space. It's a protected zone where characters can explore love and desire, often through humor, without necessarily having to stick to strict real-world logic or ethical complexities.
So the genre allows it to show this fantastical version of love winning out over memory loss, even if the real-world mechanics and ethics are, well, messy.
Precisely. The movie demonstrates a possible, albeit idealized, answer within its own world. But the critical discussion around it pushes us, the viewers, to think about the much harder real-world implications, especially around autonomy and truly informed consent.
So it's a great example of a popular film sparking a much deeper conversation, really. Wow. Okay, so this deep dive into 50 First Dates has been really fascinating. It shows how a movie that seems like a simple rom-com can actually make us grapple with huge questions about love, memory, who we are.
Yeah, we've seen how real psychology, like the different memory systems and philosophical ideas, like Locke's take on consciousness, can actually offer some maybe surprising support for the idea that connections, feelings, maybe even identity can exist beyond just remembering every single day. But at the same time, those ethical debates around the movie, especially about consent, they really ground us. They remind us how incredibly complex and challenging real-world memory loss is for relationships and for, personal autonomy.
So ultimately, 50 First Dates gives us a really heartwarming story. It's an idealized vision, maybe, but it encourages that belief in a kind of unconditional love that finds a way to adapt, to endure, even if it kind of sidesteps some of the toughest ethical knots.
It does. Which maybe leads to a good question for you, listening right now. What really stands out to you about how memory shapes who we are? Or maybe how it doesn't shape the core of us and who we're capable of loving?
Yeah. And what does that then mean for how we define what makes a relationship real or true? Something to think about.